Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back again for another episode. And I'm absolutely thrilled today to have with me Kenneth O'Neill. Kenneth, welcome to Rotary Voices of Kerrville.
Wow, Rotary. I'm excited about this.
So, as Kenneth, this is a podcast where I get to talk to other fellow Rotarians about their experience with Rotary. So, let's just start with when did it begin?
1998,
And where did you join?
Kerrville, Texas, the Noon Rotary Club.
The Noon Rotary Club. So, tell me about why you joined and maybe some of your early experiences with Rotary.
One of my parishioners at the St. Peter's Episcopal Church, Mr. Neil Masterson, an insurance agent here in Kerrville, invited me to go. So I went my 3 obligatory meetings. He told me I'm obligated to go to at least 3. So I went and we meet at noontime, nice lunch, nice crowd. There were about 150 or so people that would show up each week. And so I started, and it took about a year or so before they identified me and said, "You're now in charge of programs." I said, "Oh my goodness." For 8 years, I was in charge of the programs for the Noon Rotary. And I had my business consulting business. And so what I used to do, we had some great speakers because I knew a lot of people all around the United States, especially the ones in the financial markets, other accountants, attorneys, and securities. And so I would call them up and I'd say, "Hey, I noticed that you're going to be in Austin, Texas on Tuesday night. What about staying over a couple of days and come to Kerrville and speak to the Noon Rotary?" And of course, we had some great people in the club, the Symphony Orchestra, Donahue, and he's passed away since then. But so we had a lot of resources in the community, which you're beginning to find out. I mean, there are some amazing stories in this town. There are. And go ahead.
Are there 2 or 3 speakers that kind of stand out for you that you were able to either select, coerce, or otherwise get them to speak to the Noon Rotary Club?
Yeah, this was a great guy. He was in charge of corporate governance for a major corporation. He was on their board of directors, and he was a professor at the University of Texas. And the way I got him was I picked up the phone and called him. I said, "I love what you're doing on that board." And I wish I could remember the name of the company. Right off the top of my head, I can't remember, but it was a major Fortune 50 company. And he came and spoke, and he was wonderful. He was just wonderful. I mean, great. Everybody loved him. He was just a terrific guy. And then each year, Texas Monthly has this barbecue magazine where they have the top 10 barbecue places.
Right.
So that year, one of the guys that was in the top 10 or something, he wrote a book. And so I said, "Guys, we got to have it." So I got him to come too, and it was wonderful. And we gave away some books, sold some books. But yeah, those 2 stand out, especially the governance guy, because it was right up my alley.
Yeah.
He was
You must have been like a hog.
And then with my consulting practice, I picked up a couple of clients in San Antonio, and I had to go into San Antonio several times on Wednesday, and I missed Rotary. All right. And back in those days, we had 100% attendance.
Right.
So I agreed. I just went from the Noon Rotary to the Morning Rotary. And so I'm in the Morning Rotary now, but I keep visiting the Noon Rotary. But the reason I mentioned the morning is because 2022, I was actually the president of the morning. But I think that the biggest thing that I really enjoy about Rotary is that when I've been to Canada, been to Europe, and especially when I've been to Africa, is they love Rotarians overseas. I mean, we're treated like kings. And when I was in Kigali, which is the capital of Rwanda, I spoke to every Rotary Club there, and there were like 6. They had a French-speaking Rotary. They had a Rwandan one. They had an English one. So I spoke to all of them, and then I spoke in other cities also. but to see the work that Rotary is doing around the world, phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Did you hold any other offices at the AM Rotary Club that you were president of?
Oh, yeah. I was the treasurer. I was a secretary. I was in charge of pecan sales. So, yeah, it's very active for being a small club.
So what's the role of the president of a local Rotary Club? Do you have to attend every event? Do you have to, at the end of the day, it's all on your shoulders if somebody doesn't step up? How does that work?
I was very involved the year that I was in, so I tried to make every meeting, every major event, and be there. But I think the biggest thing is to make sure that in the meetings, even delegating other positions and everything, but actually be a leader. And one of the biggest things, of course, before the year starts, what are our goals? And I think we're like 18 or 20 projects that we did the year I was president. And so we set those in a goal setting program, and then we work toward those each year. And we had 2 fundraisers. We had one in the fall and then one in the spring. The year I was there, the year I was president, of course, we do pecans in the fall. And then we had a putt golf project where people could play putt golf. And that was a fundraiser that particular.
What are a couple of the highlights for you from your year as president?
One of the biggest things I think I did, are you familiar with the president's appointment or something like that? I'll have to look up exactly what it is, but it's for people that are outside of the government and everything. But there is a foundation or something that is actually signed by the president of the United States. And when you are the sponsoring entity, which the Morning Rotary became a sponsoring entity for this program, is a presidential citation for people that are not necessarily in Rotary. Because we had a young lady that was working, she had a real desire to do, and her major project at the moment, completion of it, I think it finished after the year that I was there. But I got the club actually as a designee for that presidential citation. And through the foundation, of course, we did several grants. We raised money for different things. Like recently, we have taken a young lady graduated from high school, gave her a scholarship for college, and then she got a part-time job, and we're helping her with some of her fund. I mean, it's a great way to help people.
Kenneth, what do you say to the younger entrepreneur, the younger businessman, or perhaps the person that's just starting out their professional career? Why should they consider Rotary?
You and I have talked about relationships and community and several other things that you and I have chatted about. But I think relationships are number one, right? And when you come into Rotary, you create a relationship. You can say, I'm a Rotarian and in that community. And the Rotary is very good about supporting outside things that we can get involved in those. You can be a giver. You can be a contributor to those. And I think that support within a community and then encouraging people to grow. Because like in the levels that we do, you start off, then you get a position, and maybe that's not much responsibility, but then the next time you get more responsibility and you can actually go through the organization and one day become president. So I think that the management skills, the leadership skills, and especially effective communication, meaning having a relationship with people, listening at a high level, and then making sure that they understand your position. I think it's great for leadership management and control.
So, from my perspective, I've only been involved about 18 months, but I've enjoyed the fellowship, and I'm going to call it fellowship. But I've also enjoyed the speakers because it's allowed me to learn a lot more about my local community, being relatively new to Kerrville and Kirk County. Is that one of the functions that you see as a part of Rotary, or at least something they give back as well?
Yes, I think that's great, and I think that, we need to go by the four-way test, okay? Is it the truth? And we really could just stop there. I mean, is it the truth? But
We could sure use that now.
but the speaking, that skill, I mean, what is it? Most people, they'd rather go get a root canal than speak in front of somebody, but that's not me and you. I mean, you give us a microphone, we're ready to go. But
Root canal's really not that bad either.
no, not anymore, they're not. But you can also, I mean, I believe that you can learn, and I think you ought to take every opportunity to learn, to share with people, and create relationships so that people will know you support them. In other words, if I talk about legacy and want to leave a legacy so that 150 years from now, they say, if you needed anything done, you needed to call Tom Fox. He would do it. His family, he was the one on the street that he would go and he helped Mrs. Jones with her taking her trash out on Tuesdays. And so all of those relationships come from dealing with people. And we have to create this atmosphere, though, where that atmosphere is loving and kind. And it goes back to these virtues that we must live upon.
Let me tell you my favorite Rotary story so far. I was being basically interviewed by a fellow to be on his podcast, and it was, I guess you'd call it more of a spiritual nature than a professional business podcast. But he said, I was going to ask you about your commitment to service, but I see you wearing that Rotary shirt. That's all I need to know. And that really told me that Rotary has the reputation of being dedicated to service. Has that been your experience as well?
Yes. Like I said, when I went on an international basis, I mean, the things that they're doing all around the world. I mean, we're putting in water systems, we're building houses, we're doing all kinds of things. And my favorite guy in the world, Zig Ziglar, he said, you can have everything in life you want if you will serve other people. Service. So we have service above self. And that's so important. That's so significant when we back up and let others, it's all about them. It's all about them.
I'm going to selfishly say, I hope you'll come on over to the Noon Club, Kenneth.
Thank you. I've had that invitation 2 or 3 times.
Good. Kenneth, thank you so much for taking the time to visit with us today.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for thinking of this. I love it. I know you were behind this. So thank you.